Very good evening. You're watching Newsx and I'm Shivani Singh. Attacks on Hindus in Bangladesh continue with a young Hindu man, an auto driver by profession, stabbed to death while a Hindu political leader died in political custody. These latest incidents have sparked a fresh wave of fear among the nation's Hindu minorities and drawn sharp condemnation from international human rights observers and the Indian government as well. Let's begin by taking a look at what happened to Samir Das and the case of Pranay Chaki. On the night of January the 11th, 2026, in the quiet rural expanse of Dagan Bhuyan Upazila, Feni district, Bangladesh, a horrific crime shattered the peace of an otherwise ordinary evening. What should have been just another routine night for local residents turned into a scene of unimaginable violence, leaving families across the area gripped with fear and demanding answers from the authorities as the investigation begins. Samir Kumar Das, a 28-year-old Hindu, a CNG auto-rickshaw driver, known for his hard work and reliability in the community, was suddenly and violently intercepted by a group of assailants while operating his vehicle on a familiar route in Dagan Bhuyan. The attackers appeared without a warning, surrounding him in what police now describe as a clearly premeditated ambush that cut short his journey in the most tragic way possible. He was dragged forcibly from his CNG auto rickshaw onto the roadside. Then Samir was subjected to a savage and unrelenting assault, severely beaten with fists, kicks and possibly blunt objects before the attackers turned to knives. They stabbed him multiple times in a frenzied attack that ultimately claimed his life. This level of brutality has left investigators and the public stunned, raising serious questions about the motive behind such extreme violence. The grim discovery came with the light of dawn on January the 12th, when local authorities recovered Samir's lifeless body near a hospital facility in Dagan Bhuyan, Upazila. The remains showed clear signs of the ferocious beating and stabbing that he had endured just hours earlier. It prompted an immediate autopsy and intensified police efforts to piece together the final moments of this young man's life and bring those responsible to justice. Adding to the mystery surrounding this senseless killing, Samir's CNG auto rickshaw, his primary source of livelihood, has vanished completely and remains missing despite intensive searches in the area. Yet strikingly, their assailants have left behind items of significant value on his person: cash in his possession, his mobile phone and the gold jewelry that he was wearing, untouched. This has deepened the puzzle over what truly drove this attack, leaving investigators to explore motives far beyond a simple robbery. The brutal murder of Samir Das has shocked the district, as he was regarded a man with no enemies, no personal enmity and no financial disputes. Now let's take a look at the case of Pranay Chaki. Pranay Chaki was a respected 60-year-old Hindu leader from the Pabna district in Bangladesh, a senior figure in the Awami League, where he served as the Cultural Affairs Secretary for the Pabna unit under Sheikh Hasina's party. Beyond politics, he was a renowned musician, a singer and music director from the 90s era, actively involved in cultural activism, including roles with organizations like the Sri Ram Krishna Sebashram, making his death in custody a profound loss to both the political and the artistic communities in the region. Pranay Chaki was arrested from his home in the Dilalpur or Partha Tala area of Pabna town on December 16, 2025. Police have later formally showed him as arrested in connection with an explosives or blast case linked to the violence on August 4, 2024. during the anti-discrimination student protest that escalated into the July uprising, ultimately leading to Sheikh Hasina's ouster. His family has claimed that he was picked up despite not being initially named in any case, amid a broader crackdown on the Awami League affiliates following the political transition. Tragically, Praloy Chaki died late Sunday night, January 11, 2026, at the Rajshahi Medical College while still in police custody. He has been lodged at the Pabna district jail where his health reportedly deteriorated sharply, suffering a cardiac arrest or stroke on Friday, January the 9th. He was first rushed to the Pabna General Sadar Hospital and then transferred to Rajshahi for advanced care as his condition worsened. But he passed away around 9 p.m. or shortly after, prompting immediate questions about the events leading to his hospitalization and death. Jail officials, led by Pabna District Jail Superintendent Omar Farooq, have insisted that Praloy Chaki died of natural causes, citing long-standing issues like severe diabetes, blood pressure and heart problems. But his son, Sunny Chaki, or Saini in some reports, strongly disputes this, publicly accusing the authorities of deliberately denying medical care, gross negligence and delayed treatment. Apart from this, prolonged physical and psychological abuse in custody, which he says directly led to his father's death. These were the two latest cases in what can only be described as a communal genocide against Hindus and minorities in Bangladesh. The 116 killings in 7 months prompted the Human Rights Commission for Bangladesh Minorities to publish a detailed report. Newsx has exclusively accessed this minorities report, and let me take you through the key findings of this report. It's very interesting to understand how 116 deaths have happened in over just 7 months, and this is something that the Human Rights Commission of Bangladesh Minorities has actually highlighted in their report. So what are the top 10 key findings? Number 1, killings documented in all 8 divisions of Bangladesh, establishing nationwide violence. So this is not limited to a certain district, to a certain region. It's nationwide because reports have come in from all the 8 regions over there of Bangladesh. Finding number 2, significant concentration of killings occurred repeatedly in specific districts, establishing risk zones. So obviously there were targeted killings in risk zones, which have been identified in this report as well. Finding number 3, incidents span metropolitan areas, municipalities and rural unions, thus showing the risk regardless of location. So whether you stay in an urban setting or if you stay in the rural areas, if you are a minority in Bangladesh, you face the same risk. Finding number 4, victims were deliberately selected and attacked following identifiable process of threats and false accusations. So finding number 4 actually points out to how people are actually targeted in this, and there were deliberate false narratives being spread about them. Finding number 5, victims were killed by organized or spontaneous crowds, often incited by fabricated allegations. So fabricated allegations also come into the play, and these people, they were organized groups as well, and they were spontaneous crowds as well, which conducted all these targeted killings. Finding number 6, fatalities occurred in the context of broader coordinated attacks, including arson campaigns and mass intimidation operations. So apart from spontaneous attacks, there were mass intimidation campaigns also that were led over here against the minorities. Finding number 7, gender distribution reveals that vast majority of the victims are men, reflecting exposure as primary income earners. So men, when we looked at the gender composition over there of the killings that have been conducted, men were the majority victims. Finding number 8, multiple cases report refusal from the police to register FIRs, citing absence of post-mortem. So this also shows how the authorities were reacting. In most of the cases, the police said we could not register the FIR because there was lack of post-mortem. Finding number 9, in multiple cases, no suspects were detained despite being named despite naming the perpetrators or eyewitnesses' accounts. So even if there were eyewitnesses' account, the people have not been detained, even if they have been named in the complaint. So this also shows how the authorities are actually responding to these killings. And finding number 10, families report harassment, threats and pressure not to pursue legal action. So this is also something that families are alleging, that when they have lost one of their family members, they even can't file cases, they can't pursue the legal action because they are in fact facing harassment, they are facing threats and they are facing pressure from everyone over there. So this is a completely shocking, horrifying report that has come out by the Human Rights Minorities, Bangladesh Minorities report that has come out. And clearly right now, joining us will be Dhiman Chaudhary, convener, HRCBM, and the author of the report. Thank you for joining us, sir. We appreciate your time. If I can come to you with my first question, sir, can you help us understand how your teams have documented these killings?
There are several angles through which we collect the data. First of all, we do use our volunteers. We have around 2,000 volunteers across the country that actively provides us the information. But we do not rely on that information either. So we call in the police stations and also verify through the hospitals where if there is a post-mortem report available, then we look at it as well. And also we do open source verifications. For example, some of the people not part of our volunteer team, but they are sending us information. We do call in a police station to verify that that occurrence has happened.
Right, and so the report says that most killings are due to lynchings. What is the pattern that you have found?
Not most killing is lynching. Lynching is a very small subset. The major cases we have found that most of the cases that we observed are either targeted or it is a suspicious death, meaning that there are doubts of targeted killing, but we do not have a proof. So you'll see that the targeted killing has been identified. Those we know exactly which ones are targeted killing, and rest of them we marked as suspicious death under the circumstances where it is considered targeted killing, but we have not because of the police cooperation. So police sometimes does not file the FIR. If you look at the report, you will see that we mentioned about police taking a long time to file the FIR. As a result, we have to depend on GD, and GD is the general diary, not the first information report, which inclusive of post-mortem report. So sometimes police is saying they didn't receive the post-mortem report, so that puts us in a limbo sometimes to verify if it was a targeted killing, what was the symptoms. Like in some certain cases, we have seen the targeted killing, like for example, throat slitting and legs and hand was tied in a fashion that coincide with torture. So those kind of symptoms we look at, and as well as we also verify from the family, the victim's family, what happened, what led to this murder. The cases that we know for sure, we could identify the victims. But the report that you have seen that I just shared, that is only related to those victims that we identify. But throughout the country, there are unidentified bodies being found every single day. And we do not know who are those people? So we have no way to identify this until and unless forensic investigation is done by the police, which is rare in Bangladesh. Not
In fact, Mr. Chaudhary, I would request you to stay on with us. Joining us on the broadcast are also Major General Sudhakarji, Senior Geopolitical and Strategic Defense Expert, Major General Dr. J.K. Bansal, Senior Defense Expert, and Mithun Vijay Kumar, author and activist. Thank you so much, sirs, for joining us all on the broadcast and for discussing this matter of pressing importance. Let me first go across to Major General Sudhakarji on this. Sir, we are seeing 7 months of targeted killings, of lynchings, of mob violence. This is a total collapse of law enforcement in the interim government's rule, sir.
Yes, Shivani, good evening. Thank you for inviting me to your show, and my compliments to very distinguished and esteemed co-panelists. You have raised a very important question, but I only hope and wish that you could have asked a question to the convener of HRCB RM as to what is the way forward. Here is a gentleman who is a know-how of everything. There is no better doctor to prescribe a countermeasure, effective countermeasure than him. I wish you had asked him this question as per him and his understanding, how to prevent and how to stop this kind of mayhem. These are slow, incremental, and often appear to be non-provocative, so that conventional retaliation by any country is kept under the threshold of any kind of retribution. This is a very tricky dynamic which is evolving. We are looking for solution. Newsx is known for as a solution provider, not a problem analyzer. So having said that, I would say that this is a bigger design which is actually evolving by the day, and this is a slow genocide of a minority in the neighboring country of India. You cannot call it as a backyard. It is a contiguous, geographically contiguous part of India. At one point in time, it used to be an inseparable, integral part of undivided British India Empire. They are the same people. We speak the same language. We have the same religion as well. So why wait for? If he could actually give land and negotiate and settle the border issue, what is stopping India? So it's very easy to make these statements and call out for India's response, but then there is a bigger plan in place. The forces inimical to India do not want India to grow. They want to actually be drawn into a long drawn conflict so that they can bleed India to death. They want to retard India's the economic progress. There is a bigger game which is going on. It is not by radical Islam. There are elements which are in support and provoking these kind of things happening in the eastern flank. So therefore, what is the solution? I'm sure people sitting in the mandarins in the South Bloc would be applying some kind of analysis and coming out with some solution. As far as me, I am concerned, we need to look at the problem, identify the problem correctly. Only then the solution will come out. At the moment, looking at the entire challenge in terms of short, medium, and long term would not give us any immediate result. The immediate result is to contain, to counter, and then to contest. How do you contain? How do you restrict? The Yunus has to be held accountable, and under him all the security apparatus have gone defunct. Is the police of Bangladesh gone defunct totally? Is the law and order is not in his hand? If India, government of India would do well to get after this man Yunus and hold him accountable as far as the ineffectiveness of police force is concerned. Why isn't the police responding? Why isn't police able to define and segment the area the way you have beautifully analyzed in your presentation? Why isn't the government of Bangladesh taking any remedial measure? This has to be highlighted and called out. The people in Bangladesh, they are absolutely, I'm saying, they have been held captive and held hostage to these kind of situations. There is very little they can do. I think time has come. India has to cross the red line, maybe. We have to take suitable countermeasure to firstly to contain the situation, make sure that the law and order, of course, we cannot go inside and do it, but the apparatus which are existing in Bangladesh, if they need any support, the Bangladesh army has to be engaged with. We need to find a solution, not discuss the problem. Back to Shivani.
Right. In fact, General, we do have Mr. Chaudhary, so I will be asking those questions to him for for the benefit of the viewers as well. But let me go across to Major General Dr. J.K. Bansal first, because, sir, I want to understand here. The report clearly highlights that this is not something that is restricted to a particular region. This is not restricted to the urban areas. This is not restricted to the rural areas. We are seeing these targeted killings nationwide. We are also seeing custodial deaths, and these are very suspicious deaths that are coming to the fore. In the end, the law enforcement agencies have to answer, sir, but there seems to be no scope of accountability, because there are no FIRs filed. If there is weak investigation. Nobody wants to follow up on these cases, sir. What is the situation of minorities in Bangladesh?
Good evening, Shivani. Thank you very much for inviting me. General Sudhakar has very rightly and explicitly brought out the situation. If you see, it is the political will which has to contain it. These elements attacking the minority has been from the very beginning during the time of Sheikh Hasina also, but she contained them. If you go in the back history of the East Pakistan and Bangladesh, this Yogendra Nath Mandal, who was there, and some of the scheduled tribes, scheduled caste people, they were there as a minority, and he himself seen that the execution and conversion of Hindus were not stopped, and in 1950 he resigned as a law minister and came back to India. So now, actually, since the time of this Sheikh Hasina has gone, there has been those all Islamists and the terrorists have been released, and they had been doing this thing from the very beginning. Now, what I feel personally, because there is no, they just, the regime, they say that yes, it is just a criminal cases or it is being a propaganda and whatnot, but it is a fact which has been put in the report also, and whole world knows it. Until unless the international community and the so-called Human Rights Commission at the international level put pressure and very severe pressure and sanctions against Bangladesh, this problem is not going to be resolved. But what I now have a little ray of hope in the sense, after the election, it may be stopped in the sense. Now Tariq Rahman, he has come and he has made a statement that all religion, including Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, they all will be treated and they alike, and there will be a good thing. Now, in such a situation, Bangladesh needs in India very much for their all support, whether you take a medical support, you take their electrical supply, you take their food requirement. So if really Bangladesh want to prosper and to have a good economy, which was there earlier, then they have to be cooperative with India. So I feel a sensible leader over there, and if so, this Tariq Rahman and our external affairs minister has also met him once during he went for the death of his mother, Khalida Jia. So let us see and hope that there may be some good sense prevails and they contain all these terrorists and all these this fundamentalist, then only something will come. Because at the moment there is no political will. Yunus is not taking any action. Otherwise, because they are in the denial mode. The political leadership there, they say that no, it is not it is nothing Hindu Muslim. It is just because they are the criminal or there is some political Vedanta, something like that. They call it off, and this is the, if until that they identify, and they take a there should be political will. There should be, as has been told, that even registering a FIR was not there. They must declare this Hindu minority area as a protected area. There must be a fast track court which must identify all these criminal and should be should be prosecuted as soon as possible. Then only it will only be possible. Otherwise, this will keep on going. And in last say 24 days, there has been 9 deaths, and there has been the torture and the gang raping of women also there. And this latest was about auto rickshaw. This Tas, his rickshaw was also taken away. So these kind of things can only be stopped if the political will over there and they understand to save their own country, and then this can happen. So otherwise, their economy will go bad. It will be bankrupt, which is going to be. And if they keep on following Pakistan, then this kind of thing used to happens. Let us hope that after election things improve. Back to you, Siva.
Absolutely, sir. In fact, let me also rope in Mithun Vijay Kumar into this discussion. Mithun, General Banchal actually spoke about the international community as well. Do you think that 116 killings within a span of 7 months, as per the report, is threshold enough for international institutions like the ICC to in fact intervene for the protection of minorities? And at what time, sir, do you think that the government or administrative inability to handle such things comes into and crosses the line into culpability?
Shivani, I don't think there would be a lot of international pressure because Yunus is someone who is supported by the West. He has been launched into Bangladesh by the CIA itself. While we may be having a discussion every week, to discuss about another tragedy in Bangladesh, one day it's a journalist, the next day it's a shopkeeper, then it's an auto driver. This will continue in Bangladesh. But while Hindu families in Bangladesh are living in fear, we have to ask a tough question. We don't have to wait for the international community is what I think. We should ask, what are we doing about it? We are seeing in Bangladesh today, it's not just violence. It's a cold, calculated system of erasure. It's not safe anywhere, is what I understand from the report that you just read out. So this is no longer just happening in some places. It doesn't matter if you're in a big city or a small town. If you are a Hindu, you are a target. And the victims are identified, they are tracked and killed with precision. So, and the method is always the same. It's a group of attackers or a mob gathers. They will make fake accusations, usually blasphemy or insulting religion.
But we cannot, India cannot intervene per se. Do you think that what I want your opinion on is, do you think that the administration is complicit in these killings? Because we are seeing Hindu minorities being targeted left, right and center.
See, Shivani, India, why can't we intervene? While Hindus are being slaughtered, we don't have to respect their sovereignty, right? Does a state that cannot protect its own citizens deserve a privilege of sovereignty? We should put direct pressure on the interim government in Bangladesh. Bangladesh's economy is heavily dependent on India. Even for electricity, they depend on us. Their essential imports like cotton, rice, wheat, pharmaceuticals, and for power, we should tell their government, if you cannot keep minorities safe, the trade will stop and lights will go out. This is something that a clear message that India should give to Bangladesh. Bangladesh's industry survived because of Indian energy. We supply over 1,000 megawatts of electricity every day. We must put direct pressure on them. If we should make every bit of help we give them depend on the safety of the last Hindu living in that notorious country, Shivani. We need to move from talking to doing before the Hindus are erased.
I really apologize for interrupting you over there, but you believe diplomatic pressure is the way forward for India to go, because we need to put pressure. Let me now go across to Mr. Chaudhary, who is also with us on this discussion. He's the author of the report. Let me ask him some pertinent questions. Sir, do you believe, what is the culpability of the law enforcement agencies in all these killings?
So, I will not say the police is not cooperating with us. There are certain police stations they are cooperating, and the fact that we could come up with a report that other organization is unable to do, that tells you certain police stations are cooperating with us. But recently, you probably have seen in the news media, even the IGP, the Inspector General of Police, has made a statement that the police is having difficulties working in Bangladesh, given that they have been torn apart by political turmoil. Certain cases, the progress on any cases is hindered because of this political turmoil. That's what he said. Certain biases are there in certain administration, so it's causing difficulties for the police to implement or enforce the law, I would say. That's one element. And I mentioned about post-mortem report is another thing. Is this sometimes hospital is not providing or not conducting post-mortem in a way that that's supposed to be done immediately. It should be taking like 2 weeks to maybe 2.5 weeks, but not more than that. But then even 3-4 months, there is no post-mortem report. And also another element we have observed, and that is specific to minorities that we have observed, and it is mentioned in our report, that sometimes police is not taking initiative to file the FIR, which they supposed to do under Bangladeshi law. And we mention exactly which law and which section of the law under which they're supposed to file on behalf of the victims, but they are not doing it. In fact, they're waiting for family to file the case, and that also delayed, right? So the process is sometimes broken in terms of identifying the body, doing the forensic investigation, doing the post-mortem, and filing the cases. So it's taking a longer process in under current situation in Bangladesh. So I'll not say, but there is a lack of process, the lack of urgency, lack of seriousness, however you want to define this. This is how we are observing.
So, sir, you are mentioning that the system is broken. You are saying that there is a systematic failure to protect. There is a systematic failure of accountability. You have mentioned no FIRs. Do you see any action being taken by the government?
We have not seen. See, if government wants, things could be subsided very significantly. But you will see that it's growing, right? Arson, like, for example, I have not even published that report, but it just came to me. December alone, 89 incidents happened against minorities. That includes lynching, raping, arson, land grabbing, you name it. So if government wanted, they could have stopped it. But there is no urgency from the government. I mean the interim government, and I'm not sure why it is, but there is no urgency from the interim government to step in, although the militaries are there on the ground. But when it comes to minority, we see certain perceived biases to enforce the law.
So there are mediators on the ground, but they can't do anything. There are biases against minorities. So what exactly can we actually do for these minorities, sir, than to push the Yunus government to act?
So from the human rights perspective, we need international community to step in to recognize what's happening in Bangladesh. They seems to be oblivious of the fact, despite we are raising the concern, and a lot of Indian media is also raising the concerns. Sometimes Bangladesh government responds, okay, these are isolated incidents, and sometimes they are saying it's rumors. So minorities in Bangladesh are caught in between geopolitics of the region, and that is not helping either. And I'm not sure why Western media as well as international authorities, for example, we sent out all these reports to UN permanent missions, human rights commissions, as well as a lot of international government authorities and officials, including a lot of embassies in Bangladesh. But we are not seeing strong statement from any countries regarding that. So that is a very absurd situation. I would say it's very difficult situation for Bangladesh minorities that their plights are not being recognized.
All right, I see Major General Sudhakarji in fact wants to intervene. Sir, you have 30 seconds. We are unfortunately running out of time. Just 30 seconds to put your point across.
The international community is the perpetrator of this slow poison and killing of minorities in Bangladesh. If the perpetrators are creating this crime, I tend to agree with Mr. Mithun. He brought out there are number of leverages which India enjoys. There are 54 rivers flowing from India into Bangladesh. There is an agreement which is due for revision in the month of January, end of February, Farakka Barrage agreement. If it is all subject to goodwill and the goodwill response of the neighbor, if the neighbor doesn't respond, revoke it the way you have revoked the Indus River Treaty. Same is the case with trade. Talk about the power supply, be it from Bhutan or from Nepal, it transits through India. India is one of the largest trading partner. Whether you talk about cotton, salt, chilies, vegetable, anything.
All right. I think all my panelists agree over here that India needs to draw the lead line. They need to put across their stance. Let me go across to Mr. Chaudhary for the final question, sir. What do you think and why do you think this is happening in Bangladesh? Why are minorities being targeted, and does it amount to a genocide?
So we have so Bangladesh, if you look at in the report, you will see that there is no let up since India's division in 1947. There is no let up of violence against minorities in the same geographic area across the generations, right? Intolerance has been there. And after Bangladesh independence, Pakistan has done what it has, and it is recorded, 1950, 1960s, 1971. They have done whatever to wipe out minorities, and it came down from 28% to 1971, I think it was 18% or so. And then from there, now it is 7.95% for Hindus and 1% for rest of the minorities in the country. If that tells you a figure that it is an orchestrated, systematic annihilation of minorities, specifically from the country. In 2022, and it's actually since 2006, we have filed a series of litigation. These are still pending in Bangladesh High Court. So we went to International Criminal Court, and we have put a prosecuted investigation inquiry in 2022 to International Criminal Court. By the way, HRCBM is an NGO coalition for international, is a member of NGO coalition for International Criminal Court. When it was formed, we actively participated and we invited the Bangladesh government to become signatory of ICC. So if you look at the definition of ICC's Article 6, where it defines that if there is an intent to destroy either physically or mentally, right, any group, it constitutes to be genocide. Genocide need not to look at, like, the perception is there, the genocide has to be, there has to be a war and there has to be massive killing in order for at once, like Rwanda, for you to define it as a genocide. But that is a long duress, we call it, longitudinal study, if you do it in Bangladesh. There has been, after Holocaust of Jewish people, there is no other incident you will see that collectively that many people has been annihilated, which is happening in Bangladesh, continuously going on. It's a recurring, ongoing genocidal crime against a community with an intention, as I said, under Article 6, whether physically or mentally to destroy. Now, when a person killed, when like Dipu Chandra Das is being lynched in front of thousands of people, 6,000 people, according to the police officer who gave us the interview, what do you see from that 6,000 people's mentality? Is that the minority person is being killed, half dead, and then burned. So the mentality is there that they are expandable. Otherwise, out of the 6,000 people, there should be hundreds of them that can go ahead and save this person, but they have not. So that gives you a mentality and intolerance that is a behavioral pathology that is decaying the social fabric in Bangladesh. And with that comes the psychological impact of the minorities. Minorities are becoming increasingly fearful, increasingly feeling the pressure of being annihilated. And sometimes they are forced to convert, sometimes escape, or sometimes being annihilated. So this is their mental state right now. If it cannot be defined as genocide, then what would that?
All right, so we all agree that there has been a systematic failure of protection and of accountability. I thank, unfortunately, I do not have much more time to discuss this, but I thank all my guests for joining us on the broadcast, Major General Sudhakarji, Major General J.K. Bansal and Mithun Kumar. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast with those valuable perspectives. With that, we are wrapping up this bulletin and slipping into a short break.